Hello and welcome to The Big Issue on City TV and City FM. My name is Umaru Sandamado. In studio today, my guest, Alexander Aban, Deputy Minister for Health, and he's been sharing with us information about our preparedness, what we've been doing so far, in now the fight, not the prevention, against COVID-19 or coronavirus. Dr. Dennis Laye is National Coordinator of Port Health at the Ghana Health Service. They were supposed to ensure this didn't come in, but like I said, it has already come in. And so he's also my guest in studio. Alex Segbefia once served as Minister for Health, and we are asking him best practices worldwide and what they did during the Ebola epidemic. Was Ebola a pandemic?
No.
It was, no. Okay, so it was an outbreak. Yeah. And then how they addressed it at the time and what we can be doing this time around. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa. He's a worried citizen. And he is also my guest in studio. Mr. Segbefia, you're making a point when we took the break.
There are two other factors which I believe the government has to look at closely. Information reduces panic.
Exactly.
And there appears to be, today we're on the program, you say you have
a cough.
You have holding bays. Okay. You have quarantine centers. Mm-hmm. You have structures to deal with. Tell Ghanaians that we have this number of holding bays. We have this number spread across the country. Mm-hmm. We have this number of centers. In our time, we said, look, we've got one in Tema. We are almost, and it's finished, the one in Tamale. We are starting one in Kumasi. This was not information we held to our chest, because it gives people the confidence that should it come, we are in a position, we are in a state of preparedness to deal with it. You should be the ones going out telling people that actually the recovery rate is 80%. It was much lower when it came out from China. But we have moved to a point where we are now worldwide at an 80% recovery rate. So it is a dangerous virus. Let's do the best things, but let's not panic. We can handle it. You have to let people know that at its peak, it has a lot of, if too many people get at the same time, it will put stress on our health facilities. Because you need enough ventilators, enough this, and that even the people abroad, that is where the challenge is.
Yeah, the ICUs.
Yes, the number of ICUs. Let people know this. Let people know that the most vulnerable are those who are older. For some reason, we don't have any young people getting it, or even if they get it, they shake it off very quickly. But if you are 50, 55, 60 and above, make sure that you are actually being in self-quarantine if you don't need to be somewhere. What was missing from the president's, from the Ministry of Health speech was this issue of crowds. It wasn't mentioned at all. People should not be, and you don't wait for the thing to go out before you stop the action. That is my view. It costs us economically if, for example, you said certain functions must stop, or if there's going to be a congregation in closed environments of a certain number, in open air of a certain number. If you want people to be aware that there is an issue going on, you should start closing some of these things and say, oh, we want to go to, it's been postponed. Oh, why has it been postponed? Because there's an illness in town called coronavirus. Oh, really? What is it? All these things, you don't wait for the thing to get to its peak or to grow. The statistics are such that, and except in Africa at this stage, that at some point there seems to be some exponential growth in the countries that it is in Europe. Mm-hmm. So it starts off with small numbers, 5, 10. And those countries that didn't take it too seriously or just thought, look, we'll handle it, all of a sudden you see it moving to hundreds, 200, 300, and it's moving. For some reason, and I'm not saying it will happen in Africa, we don't seem to be having that in Togo at the moment or in Burkina. And
maybe I should share this with you. There's some research finding from the United States which seem to suggest that the virus is unable to thrive
in heat
beyond 26 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
So probably that's...
But the challenge, the downside to that factor, though, is that if it happens and your healthcare systems are weaker,
Yes.
like we do have in many African countries, then you are challenged. I would not put so much faith in that particular.
Of course.
That's why I've not mentioned it at this stage.
But it's
I'm just
something-
leaving it as a possibility. What is important, which Franklin mentioned, and it creates this thing, is that, look, habits are very difficult to break. So you will see some presenters talking, and then they if they have an itch or whatever, they always touch their face or whatever. When in actual fact, that's one of the things you're not supposed to do. Doctors are supposed to wash
every 10 minutes you touch your face.
Exactly. So the whole issue is that if you do not educate and put things in certain places. So for example, somebody will say, why isn't there in every school at this stage those buckets of water?
Veronica
with, yes, and with soap and water in every school establishment, so that at least the habit of washing your hands is clear. Why is it that and we did all this under the Ebola scenario, because the things you're supposed to do are this. And I'm not saying that the government is not working towards it. I'm saying that things were left in for too long into disuse. And from the moment in December this thing was announced, we should have just upped the ante, so that by now we would have adverts out. By now we would have buckets in churches and in schools where this thing. We would even be thinking that, look, should we all speak to the clergy, speak to the imams and the malams to see whether or not we should still be going out for these functions in congregations, because that will slow down the rate of spread.
Okay.
It's not that we shouldn't do it. We are just trying to slow down the rate of spread. And at the time, now we know we have it. Okay. We know our health systems in Ghana is one of the best in sub-Saharan Africa. But worldwide, we have very weak systems. And we are not up to scratch. If it hits us the way it's hit Europe, we are in trouble. That's a fact. Because Europe is in trouble. Europe cannot cope with all its sophistication.
How much less us?
America is in trouble. How much less us? So we really have to understand that the one thing that we can do properly is the education. And that is where I think it has to intensify. People must know in all languages, which is one thing we did under Ebola. And I'm not seeing it happening at the moment yet.
Okay. I believe this requires a little, if I say, response.
It's fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's raised very pertinent issues, and I commend him for it. Because this whole business is for us to look for the best thing. And let me even admit on the delay in the communication bit. We have had series of discussions on that, and I think from the Minister of Information from yesterday, we should have the jingles running in the various languages.
Wasn't there supposed to be some updated information about travel?
It never happened. When the press conference happened on the previous night,
because
your
there was
minister,
a
your
suggestion.
boss, and there was an announcement that subsequently there will be more information. The president said the Minister for Information will be giving weekly announcements. Yesterday, when the minister himself spoke, he said around midday, there will be an update on travel, both internally and externally.
I stopped doing everything I was doing, and
yes,
I was
we're waiting,
listening.
and nobody said anything to us. So right now, we don't have the travel advisory.
I am not in a position to respond to that one.
No problem.
But if it is a coordinated approach,
of course,
the Ministry of Health should know.
It's not only with Ministry of Health. In fact, we are dealing with Ministry of Health information.
Good, but you are the apex, so it should have been a coordinated approach.
So we
should know whether the updated information, you have it. Do you have it about updated information about travel?
That's why I told you that.
Because the information ministry is just a mere conduit.
His boss may have it, he doesn't.
Oh well.
So I want to allay his fears and that of Ghanaians about the information bit. That all things are set, and we're going to have a lot of communication on that.
Before you proceed, the $100 million, has it been released? Do you have it cash at hand? Because that would aid you in doing what you're saying you would do.
Part of it, yes, because yesterday I was with the minister, my boss, we went to the Minister of Finance, and what needed to be taken, certain directions were given. So to that extent, I would say part of it, yes.
What are you spending on?
Oh, Franklin, wait.
You see,
Franklin, wait.
today it's like
How
I'm in the
much?
witness box. I'm ready
Because you
to
see,
tell as much
even
as
though
I know.
there's a
We are
there's a
leading you in
viral
evidence.
attack,
We are not
we
cross-examining.
need to
so
be
it's-
sure that
have to show the money inspection.
Franklin,
should be
wait.
monitoring the.
How much has been released when you say in part? $100 million. That's huge.
Yes, I know,
500 million
I know it's a huge amount of money.
How much
But
of it has
it
been
is
released?
It is not going to just the consumables, no.
No, I want to
Because
know how much first. I'll ask you what you use it for, but how much? You said in part. Do you have a percentage?
That information, with all due respect, is with my boss.
They are going through procurement.
Because it cannot just be that,
No,
oh, okay.
the issue of procurement will not
you have-
come because when I asked Kojo Pon Nkrumah, he said that luckily the procurement law provides for emergency situations, so you are
Hey.
covered. So you don't really have a lot of problem. So you do not have the specific figure, or you cannot share it with us now how much has been released.
I cannot tell
We have
how much has
heard
been
the
released,
Ashanti
no.
Regional Health Director has said to us that it's just about 50,000 cedis that has been given to them. And I'm wondering, 50,000 cedis out of 100 million or 500 million cedis
Given to who?
to the directorate in the Ashanti region.
I'm not aware of that information.
Okay.
But the point is that even if we are taking that to be the case, it's not only Ashanti region that we are dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he is telling what he has received as Ashanti regional director.
But if Ashanti region is getting 50, I'm just saying that if 50,000 for, we have 16 regions. So if each region is receiving an estimate of 50,000, then the rest,
that is unfair.
it's
because
unfair. Okay, I withdraw the unfair question.
Yes, I think.
Now let's talk about what you are using the money for.
The worry should be under emergency how the funds will be distributed.
No problem.
Without
I'm coming
going
to your
through-
questions now, Franklin. So,
don't insinuate that somebody is.
No,
going to
no, that's not the point.
misuse of-
No, not
no, people have actually
under
said that
normal
on social
circumstances.
media.
Under normal circumstances, we
and
see all
forgive me
these
to say this,
procurement
but people are
issues.
saying,
So imagine.
no. You just came to announce that you are giving 100 million. No, you said that so people have the thing because you want to find a way. And I'm just being very honest with you. You can come through. How do you allay their fear that no?
When some of these things come, or when such insinuations are made, some of us, me in particular, I feel so terrible.
The cynicism.
Okay, yes, I feel so terrible because I'm sitting on your studio here to say it. I have never corrupted myself in any way, and I always proceed
You
with
as a
assumption.
person, you as
yes,
a
and
minister.
so-
Just talking about.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you're saying that, you just created the.
In fairness, I think that you have to. This is a self-created problem.
Yeah.
You see, if you say one thing, and then later on, you begin to justify it or rationalize it, then when you say the next thing the next day, people will then put you to task because they do not. Let me just give.
No, we're not
I don't want to
talking about-
deviate, but I
we're
will
not
give you
talking-
one.
Irrespective
We're not
of,
talking-
and he's a
talking about-
gentleman.
Yes.
I mean, he's
Yeah, we're
never
not
been
saying about you.
corrupted.
It's
Not
not
at
about
all.
you.
He would never do that.
The president has said, "We are going to give you 100 million."
Good.
This is the same president who said, in a State of the Nation address, we are going to pay all the people who owe our old money their monies in the banking issue on a certain day. Forget that the day passed and during the week the money is available. At that point, they are told that anybody who has 30,000, we will give you your money, and we will the rest to be held in a bond, for 5 years, is it, or something like that, for a certain number of years, and then you go and collect the balance. So it's just an acknowledgement of your debt, but it is not the refund of your money. So anybody who listens to that says, but the president said they were going to pay us. Now, they have now embellished it and said that if my money is 100,000, you give me 30,000 now, and you can come and collect your 70,000 later. So today, if you say you have brought 100 million, people are then going to ask, look, we want to know where the 100 million is. Why did you ask the question? It is because we want to be sure that one, the money is going to be released or has been released, and to which, because you have an interministerial, I believe,
Sure.
Coordinating.
The coordination.
So communication will have to have some share. You say you are going to put up infrastructure. Is it Works and Housing or Ministry of Health that is going to get that? They have to buy certain vaccines.
Port health.
Education may need for the schools. So
The more challenging aspect of it, I mean, the clear defense would have been that this is an evolving issue. So the 100 million is not going, is maybe the ceiling for now.
Yes.
Exactly.
But the point though is that because of the suspicions we should have about the state actors, that is why we need to know what the current 100 million is going to cover.
Okay.
So that when you come back and tell us that you need more, then it's justified.
Franklin, that's what I was going to tell us.
It's not about you.
No, but the thing is that
It's not about you at all.
No, but the thing is that
It's not about you. I mean, your ministry. Before Honorable came to the ministry, right, we had this anti-snake serum procurement that went crazily down the hill as we speak. They're almost buying ineffective anti-snake venoms. So there are critical questions to be asked. And it is an emergency. That is before you even came to the ministry. So if these actors are now going to have emergency funds, it's important to ask critical questions. I mean, I think that Honorable may not have all the information.
Let him tell us what he has for now.
Yeah.
What do you have? What are you using the money for?
So I said that the money would be used for infrastructure because from here, we do not want that we have any kind of firefighting reaction, okay, to any kind of emergency.
Sure.
So it is not only to deal with coronavirus, but to create, if I may say, ever readiness hereafter. Is that okay? Is that okay? Good.
And this infrastructure would build up on what we already have?
Of course.
Okay. Do we have which ones we are putting up where? Because he has mentioned the ones they did when they were leaving. So which additional ones are we putting up? Are we putting up new ones? Are we doing renovations? What are we doing?
We will, I'm sure we'll have new ones. We'll have renovations of certain places because I know that in some hospitals, certain areas have been asked to be evacuated and remodeled to suit these purposes and all that.
Okay.
You understand? I told you that there were some pieces of information I would not want to divulge, not because we don't want to make things transparent.
No, but because governments like to keep secrets.
No. In the circumstance of this matter, right, if we say that the quarantine place is behind your house, probably you will leave your house.
No, no.
Probably.
I'll be assured that my government is working for me and that it is being transparent and open with me and telling me what is happening. This is not the invention of the atomic bomb. That's the only thing that was done under secrecy in Santa Fe, Mexico.
I know that on this platform you would speak this way, but generally speaking, I know that when people get to know that this place is where we have the quarantine, because of the fear and panic that this has already generated in the world, you agree with me?
People know where morgues are. They are not. Okay, wait. Was the Ebola center a secret location?
No. But you see,
did people run away from the area around the Ebola center?
We did not have Ebola here in Ghana.
Yeah, but we were supposed to have a center.
We had set up the place as a hub
for West Africa.
For West Africa,
which is west.
Okay. You see, the issue of Ebola should not be equated with coronavirus at all.
People were so scared of Ebola, you have no idea.
But people are even more scared.
I don't think so. I think it's the same
coronavirus.
thing.
On the contrary, people are not even aware that this is happening.
Yeah.
For anybody who is aware, let us even go there. Anybody who is aware of coronavirus fears it more than Ebola. But I think we should just go into the
because it's here now. Finally, it's here.
It is.
So it makes a difference.
Yes,
in that regard.
And you see, thankfully, for the people that we have tested, they are being contained. Okay, they are being contained, and I'm sure when I leave here, I'll get some kind of briefing on the contact tracing where we have reached.
Okay, no problem. So infrastructure, next item on the bill.
So we'll definitely deal with infrastructure to have its own permanent readiness, as I told you. Obviously, some will go into information, education. Obviously, we need some consumables, test kits, and all that.
Talking
right?
about consumables and test kits, people are complaining that hand sanitizers are being hoarded and the prices have skyrocketed. This would be akin to what happened when Rollins took over and people had to queue for days to buy a bar of soap. What are you going to do to ensure shops do not hoard these things and sell them at exorbitant prices, knowing that the demand will be high?
For now, let me condemn that act. And you see, sometimes we put everything at the doorstep of government, right? But individuals, they think that, okay, this has become an opportunity for us to also make money, right? And they throw all caution to the wind. They are not even thinking about their fellow Ghanaians. They think that, okay, there's an opportunity for us to make some money. I think for those people who are doing that, they should be guided by their own conscience too. Okay. Right? But I don't think we're just going to sit by. I'm sure that, because this information, I also got it yesterday. It was all over in the news that things that sell for 3 cedis are now going for 10 cedis and all those kind of things. I'm sure there will be some kind of intervention in that area. And of course, I've mentioned test kits, so obviously equipment and all that. So these are the things that the money would be used for, to make sure that next time, I mean, let us pray nothing like that should occur in the world anymore. But if anything should occur, then our readiness is not going to be like firefighting, but that we have these places in place. Because, for instance, the Tamale Treatment Center, for instance, I have not seen it, but from the information that I have, it is something very good that can be used to deal with these issues. Okay. And we thank Koika for their support in putting up that edifice.
I'm being informed now that there's a third case that has been confirmed. Is this something you have picked up?
From where?
We are told a gentleman who arrived and headed to the mines in Obuasi also. Have you picked up anything?
Before I got here, I had picked some kind of information, but because it's not confirmed, there's no way I'm going to make definitive statements on it. Okay. Right? There is this suspicion that somebody in the mines in Obuasi, I think it's, I even heard it's a lady, but whatever it is, somebody in Obuasi who just traveled in, right? So it appears to me that of all the cases that we have heard, it is imported cases. Okay. We do not have community spread, and that is, if I say, refreshing, because even if you have community spread, that's where it has the exponential growth. Okay. Right? That one, 2 today, it is 4 tomorrow, it is 8 the next day, and that one is quite dangerous.
So this one can be better money.
Yes, and thankfully all of these have been managed. I cannot speak to the Obuasi issue because I have not.
Let me see if Doc, you have men at the ports, and this Kotoka airport we are talking about. Has anything come on your radar?
No, not that I'm aware of.
You haven't.
But I will definitely follow up.
You haven't picked anything. Okay. Please proceed. This is just information that has come through. We just need to be sure.
To be honest with you,
I have the health minister and the man at the ports.
Yes, I had a discussion with not less a person than the Director General. So it is something we are.
So it's a possibility, but it's not confirmed.
For as long as we have not confirmed, I would not want to put any stamps because as I sit here as Deputy Minister, I'm sure what I say carries a lot of weight.
That's true.
So if I say yes, we have found that.
There'll be a headline before you say the next word.
Exactly.
That's true.
So what I'm saying is that we have had some kind of discussions. We are following it to see that if that is confirmed. Okay. As soon as if it is confirmed, of course, we owe the people of Ghana the duty to let them know.
Actually, talking about that, there were people who think that you knew about the 2 cases way before the day you made the announcement, and that the president's address to the nation and all of these things were just to prepare our minds. And that, again, as governments usually do, you were keeping secrets from us. What do you think?
This is one of the things that make me cringe in there. Okay? I don't think any president worth a salt, any government worth their name and description would decide to just come and masquerade, right, information of this nature to Ghanaians. No. At the time that the president said he was going to address the nation, it was to allay fears of whatever was going on. We at the ministry had not had any information. People at Port Health, people at the Ghana Health Service had not had any information whatsoever of the case having been confirmed or even the suspicion, right? So please, 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 please. I don't think Ghanaians should do that, or I don't think people should go onto social media and bastardize everybody.
Okay.
When we do this, it appears that we don't trust anybody at all on this earth, and I feel so bad about it.
I know, it's painful.
It's very painful.
This is a big issue on 97.3.
Welcome to the club.
Yes, but you see, if
not right. Yes, we know it's not right.
We make it seem as though putting yourself up for public service is just to go and live some deceptive life or something like that. I don't know.
I like to say
in some regard. See, if we always paint them this way, we will never have clean people to be in politics. It pains me when it gets to that point.
It's true.
Alex is saying that your people did it to him, so now you should bear the pain.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they've set a standard in the country. And the standard got worse over the years.
Actually, I remember during the Ebola.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Yeah. So,
but that's about political actors anyway.
Exactly.
Are we still on?
Yes, we are still on the big issue. 97.3 City FM and also City TV. We are broadcasting from number 11 Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. In studio, I have the Minister for Health Deputy Alexander Aban. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa. Now, Dr. Dennis Laye is the coordinator for the ports of Ghana at the Ghana Health Service. And Honorable Alex Segbefia served as Minister for Health in the past administration. And we are trying to have an understanding of the coronavirus, which has now become a global pandemic. We already have recorded our cases here in Ghana. How can we deal with it? And that appears to be the big issue. And let me know what you think. 0549 986 996, that's our WhatsApp number. Or tweet at me at Umaru Sanda or at City973 with the hashtag The Big Issue. Doc, how is this thing transmitted? So we've heard about cough and so on. So does it mean if you have it on your hand, it does not necessarily mean you have contracted it? Does it go through your nose? How can you, if you can just give us some quick education before?
Thank you very much. So it's a disease basically that starts with your respiratory system.
Okay.
So from your mouth, your nose, all the way down into your lungs. Of course, it can get systemic when it gets worse. And people have died mostly from the complications. So Honorable mentioned ICUs, intensive care units, where they need to keep some people. And I think about 20% of the people who get it would require intensive care services. Now, the virus can survive in the environment, but there are a lot of factors. Okay, the amount of the droplet, because if it dries out, then the virus would die. So if the droplet amount is quite high, and that can happen especially if the person has runny nose or there's a very deep sneeze or a very intense sneeze. So the droplets, we say it's a droplet infection and not airborne, even though it's in the air, because the droplets have a certain weight, and this is very minute. So the weight I'm talking about here is not something we can. But the droplets will just fall. So as the name suggests, it's just droplets. So assuming somebody has the disease and coughs, the droplets can only go a certain distance and they will fall. So if you are within that distance, and usually say anything less than a meter, but for prevention, we recommend that you are not within 2 meters of an infected person. Once you inhale that, then it goes into your airways, and then that can cause an infection. Of course, other things will come in, your immune system, you know, how healthy you are and all those things.
Okay.
And most of the people who are dying are people who also have concurrent illnesses. So people with already existing, let's say, kidney disease or high blood pressure and those things. Now, the other part...
So is it true that children are less affected if they are even affected at all?
In fact, the data shows it. And the people who are dying are mostly in the older age groups. Until recently, there was no death even recorded in people under 20.
Okay.
So there's some evidence to that effect.
And also, let me just give the global figure. So 4,000 people have died out of 100,000 people will be infected.
Exactly.
But the recovery rate, again, has to be something that has to be looked at. 70,000 out of 140,000. So almost like half of the people have recovered.
Well, even
Just
more, and
some
so long as
statistics.
people haven't died, we can still say that they are surviving. Some may live with complications. So I think that this statistic is looking at those who have absolutely recovered. There's no, you know...
The Nigerian guy, the one who is Nigerian, not the foreigner who came, he has recovered. He's been told to go home and say goodbye to the hospital. So there's some good news there for Nigeria.
There is. And as I said, I think that sometimes the danger with corona is the ease of spread. But the truth is, Ebola was killing about 40% of the people who had it. This is less than 4%. We're not saying that deaths are acceptable. But the point is that because it's easily spread, we need to focus on stopping these. So apart from you inhaling the droplets, if people cough, and in this country, our cough etiquette is really bad. I mean, I haven't done a study, but I've seen so many, and I think it's enough to say that our cough etiquette is not good. So you find people actually even cough, covering their mouth with their hands. And the next minute, they are shaking your hand. Now, I think Honorable mentioned that we will touch our face frequently in a day. As we sat on set, I'm sure if we replay the videos, we would all have touched our faces in the process. So if you shake somebody's hand, this person has coughed into their hands and hasn't washed it. You touch your nose, you touch your mouth, you touch your eyes. That is a portal of entry into your body.
We do not have a vaccine, do we?
No, we don't.
So how do you treat someone when you don't have...
That is why we need to focus on prevention. There's no treatment. There's no vaccine.
So those who you have under surveillance, okay, if I have malaria and I go to the hospital, you can give me malaria medicine.
Yes.
If I have cholera, I know you have some medicine. But you're saying that coronavirus has no cure.
There's no cure.
So why do you have to keep me in the hospital? So how do I recover? How do people get well then if they are not treated?
So I think that we need to make a distinction between cure and treatment.
Okay.
So part of the spectrum. If you say cure means that you've absolutely put in measures that have resulted in the person recovering from the disease condition. Now, common cold, a lot of us get it and we recover we're just taking paracetamol. It doesn't kill the virus that causes it. Your body deals with it. So in most cases in this, for COVID, that's what happens. Your body actually deals with it. The treatment that is given is what we call supportive treatment. So if the person has high body temperature, we give medicines that will reduce the temperature. If the person is coughing, for example, there can be medicines that are given to stop the cough or reduce the cough. And then also need intensive care services because they're having breathing challenges, what we call respiratory distress or respiratory challenges. Those are the ones who we put on the ventilators, for example. And then that supports their system to
fight the disease.
Support them to fight the disease. Because if you can't breathe well, it means that because you need oxygen for your cells to function well. So if your lungs are sick and the oxygen is not able to get into your system because the lungs are not functioning properly, then you have challenges. So for example, if people have simple breathing difficulties, they will just be given oxygen. In this air we breathe around, the oxygen concentration is about 21%. The oxygen given in hospitals is 100%. So that means that everything entering your lungs is absolute oxygen, and it's aimed at increasing the amount of oxygen that gets into your blood. So it's those supportive therapies that help. I have to say this. People have tried different cocktails of medicines. The evidence out there is not conclusive yet. Before we say that, look, this medicine works for this disease condition, there's a cascade of activities, or there are several boxes that need to be ticked. So until we get to that point, we cannot say that this medicine works. I'm sure you asked about chloroquine. So before you ask, let me just say it's part of the cocktails that are being tried. And as I said,
and some antiretrovirals.
Yes, people have tried antiretrovirals as well in combinations with several other medicines. But most viral infections, that especially for our respiratory illnesses, would go away without specific medicines for them.
Okay, let me bring some of the reactions that you've been sending through various social media platforms. Good morning. I think the Ministry of Information needs to intensify the education on the coronavirus because there are so many fake news circulating, there's so much fake news circulating. This from Prince in Yeji. Indeed, that's very true. That is even the biggest problem. Good morning, Sanda and your panelists on the table. I would suggest that government should provide extra measures to deal with this deadly COVID-19 pandemic to protect us from contracting it by training doctors or bringing in more experts to combat this disease. My name is Asan Apusi Fatao, listening to you live in Dom Kwabenya. Thank you, Asan. Jude from Medina says, please, can you ask doctor, after a person has recovered from the COVID-19, whether that same person can get infected again by COVID-19? That's a question that from Jude.
Yeah, I think that the evidence is not there yet. Let's not forget that this is a novel disease, so we're still learning about it.
Okay.
For most viral infections, once you recover, you gain immunity to it.
Okay.
So if you're exposed to it, you won't. But we don't have evidence yet for this one.
Audie Bernard in Medina says, Umar, the education I had from health experts like Dr. Bernard Okoboy and others, I can say without hesitation that we don't have to panic over the pandemic of coronavirus. The Ghanaian people should calm down and follow the safety measures. This one from Kwame Intema. He says, good morning to the panel. I'm even more worried about our seaports because most of the vessels are of Norwegian and other European origin, and human contact is more from there. Is that something you have an interest in, that the ports, seaports especially?
Yes, we are. We have port health there as well, and they are going through the same processes.
Our vessels don't bring human beings, they bring cargo, right?
So the crew are also a potential risk.
Okay.
So the crew, once they disembark, for whatever reason, if they are going to even spend 6 hours, so long as they are entering Ghana, they need to go through the process.
Okay. Good morning. Mr. Aban mentioned he's speaking with the Ghanaian from Turkey who tested positive, and according to him, he might have contracted it as a result of someone coughing behind him while queuing to board the plane. Okay, you're just repeating what happened. Okay, this is his question. He says, why didn't he report himself to the health officials when he suspected this? Why did it take a week for him to be tested? Why didn't he self-quarantine himself during this period while he gets the health officials informed? And that's from Alfie in Tema.
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I think I can attempt. Now, why didn't he report himself? Yeah. He was in Turkey. At the time, Turkey hadn't reported a case, right? And he wasn't even sure that it could be corona.
And even though the person was coughing, he couldn't have just assumed that.
Cough, I mean, if you cough, maybe it's just that you chewed popcorn on the wrong side of your throat.
But even here, he's only thinking that it is a possibility.
Yeah, it's possible. He's not even...
Yes.
Yes. But he said, why did it take a week for him to be tested? Is it that we've known for a week and we've been testing, or we only found out after a week? How did we...
I think in his case, he was not feeling well. He felt unwell, went to the hospital, and then I think...
so this is a guy who works with the UN?
Yes.
Which hospital did he go to?
We are told the UN clinic, and I know Alex... or is that... No, you. I'm going to call your name. Oh, that's also top secret. I shouldn't have said.
Oh, why?
And the UN has issued a statement. The staff who work in that area have all been sent home. They are supposed to work from home. That's just by way of information. That's UNDP and UNICEF. Okay. And the ambassador, did he go to the hospital himself, or how did we know about him too? You know?
To be honest with you, because the team had been dispatched, I did not even know the details of his. Okay. But as for this gentleman, we spoke to him. So. Okay.
Good morning, Umaru. Your panelist from the presidency seems to be extremely careful in his delivery. There's no one from the presidency, but there's someone who represents the president. That's the deputy minister for health. I'm not sure if he's the one you're referring to. He's been careful as though there is a gun pointed to his head. He can be very diplomatic, but when he is caught with the reality of COVID-19, this donation will change. Oh, you're being unfair to him. Okay, I don't know which of them you're referring to, so maybe it's Franklin Kujo. Good morning. I just pray that for the first time this government will use the 100 million for its intended purpose. You guys keep saying that people must wash their hands. May I ask with what? Water is not flowing in people's homes. That is the problem. Also, what happens with the traces of the virus on our mobile phones? We need to think deep. Sam is sending that message from UK. My wife is currently in China as a foreign teacher with resident visa. I need to renew my resident spouse visa, which will expire 8th April 2020. Please, I called the Chinese embassy in Ghana and asked for extension due to the outbreak because I can't go now. The stigma alone if I return because I work with government institutions and at the customer service department. The Chinese embassy rejected my claim and said I should wait for the visa to expire and reapply all over again anytime I want to visit my wife for the renewal in China. Please, I don't know what to do. Please, I wanted to know the plans Foreign Affairs has put in place for us. If not, next week I'm going to, was the ambassador at the Independence Day celebration in Kumasi? So that's a question that is added. Do you know if the ambassador was at the Independence Day celebration in Kumasi?
So he wants to go now?
Yeah, he wants to go now. Otherwise...
He should be more interested in whether the wife is safe.
He's safe.
Rather than going. I mean, what can he do if he gets there?
Okay. Leviticus Yao from Achimota says, good morning, CTFM. It was good government didn't listen to the opposition to go for the students in China. Otherwise, the whole story would have been different by now. Leviticus Powers in Kaswa says, the outbreak of the pandemic coronavirus is a grave concern to all of us. Sanitation, my regards to Honorable MP and Minister Mavis Hawakumsi. Okay. KK in Tema says, please, the government should be told to stop this armchair management of our health sector. We are seeing and hearing what is being and has been done elsewhere. Good morning, Umar. I listened to Dr. Nsiasari on UTV, and he is clear and elaborate on plans for the use of $100 million. The Deputy Minister is not... Okay, this is not fair to him. That's Maxwell Isaac. You're not being fair to him. He has tried. Rami Hassan Kafil from Sakumone says, good morning, Umaru. We are where we are today because of unnecessary politicking of everything in our country. We used Ebola virus to bastardize John Mahama and called him names that were unwarranted, and now we have COVID-19, which is a pandemic, and instead of us dealing with it nationalistically or nationalistic way, here we are blaming everyone for nothing. Just wash your hands with soap under running water and use hand sanitizers. This is the big issue on 97.3 CTFM. Do keep your messages coming through. WhatsApp is 0549986996. On Twitter at Umaru Sanda or at City973. Let's look at the economic cost to COVID-19 or coronavirus. The US banning all airlines from Europe or flights from Europe is a big deal. We haven't done that. Can we even do that? At least the few things that we're going to do, what will be the cost? People who are not traveling into this country. We have seen the Foreign Affairs Ministry say consular services have been suspended in countries that have COVID-19 and so on. Franklin Kujo is the man with the numbers. Franklin, can the world recover from the crash or the meltdown? And also Ghana, how much are we going to lose? We've seen sporting activities suspended, en bloc, the EPL has been suspended. And the football games that are played, cricket in India, the basketball games in the US, and in Ghana, we are also going to have our own share.
Well, before I speak, let me just say that congratulations to the panel, and I think they've done a very good job.
And the host?
The host has also done terribly well.
No problem.
But there's one thing, though. And even before Sydney comes, you see, when the president spoke, he said social distancing. I don't see that around this table. We are sitting so close to each other, and I'm not impugning.
They said a meter. It's more than a meter between me
and Alex. But that's you and Alex. Hey, then you're on your own. So should we allow Sydney to join?
No. Sydney likes coughing a lot. It's in the interest of the show that we present.
But he'll be very useful in the analysis. The economic analysis, because that may be limited.
Okay,
but the point to be made...
We'll invite Sydney in then, since you have insisted.
The point to be made, really, is that the economic losses are incalculable, as we are hearing. But for the United States that has just decided to pump in $50 billion or so, that has actually jolted the market a bit. So it tells you already that the impact is enormous. And for countries like us that are just coming out of the cold, it's going to be much more devastating if we are
My
not
eyebrow
able
is not
to.
part of my face.
If we are not able to contain the what's it called, this pandemic, at least within our borders, I worry that beyond the issues around FDIs, which we never calculate well, by the way, it is definitely going to have an impact already. To think that our health systems themselves are under pressure. You know, one would have thought that the investments we are making already it's going to be it's a significant negative in our otherwise normal budget cycles, because $100 million is a lot of money that can do a lot of things. That's about close to 40% of our national health fund. That's about 60% of our road fund, right?
In the year of roads.
In the year of roads. So these are significant sums. So already there's going to be the effect. You did hear the Minister for Roads suggest already that the Sino-Hydro may be affected, because of the virus. It wasn't just politicking, it's actually the truth. Even though we do know that the economic analysis of the Sino-Hydro shows clearly that it was definitely not really value for money. I mean, you can't hide under Sino-Hydro, but the point to be made is that whatever it is,
the government's
there's
plans
some
will
aspects of the plans that will be definitely affected. So globally, we've seen the challenges, we've seen the economic meltdown. I mean, that is going to happen. Some people have even suggested that if someone had predicted, I just have forgotten the name, that the next the next financial crisis will be due to a pandemic, health-wise. So we are not necessarily out of our depths. We just didn't wake up to this, which also meant that the world economy was becoming quite robust until this pandemic came, and which is just flattering almost all economies. In Africa, we pray that if the scientific evidence, if it is proven that the virus cannot basically succeed in heat, then that's our sole. You know, we should be hopeful that it doesn't cause enormous devastation. But without a doubt, the economic losses are quite significant. Already, look at it. Look at the contagion effect of even buying sanitizers. I was looking for sanitizers around the Jowlu area, and I didn't get any. The places I got around Achimota, they had jacked up the prices by almost 50%. Now, I'm hearing also that you can actually use alcohol. You guys should you? Is it possible? Methylated spirit? Is it true?
Yeah, well, but if you use it quite often, it might be harmful to the skin, but it serves the same purpose. So when we're injecting, for example, that's what we use. It's just to kill any organism.
So for those at the lower
just
ranks,
for correction purposes, you're not asking people to drink.
If you're going to use that regular.
No, you're not asking people to drink alcohol. You're asking
No.
them.
You just have to be sure it's alcohol, though.
yeah.
You have to be sure, so you have to taste it first.
But we tested it.
Which type of alcohol, though?
Appeal.
So anything ethanol, anything ethanol, or a version. So what we usually use is the medical version, which is isopropyl alcohol or the methylated spirit as well.
And so you use it to clean your hands.
But it's not recommended for frequent use. What we're recommending is regular cleaning of hands. So if you have to use alcohol, that is going to harm your skin as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So assuming the $100 million is used properly, what it means is that there will be a net positive effect, because presumably you are investing in systems that would cater for successive, if not for successive or potential outbreaks, is even inures to the benefit of your health system. There's something Alex spoke about, which I think we need to actually harp on. It's about the continuity in almost everything that we do in terms of our investments in health infrastructure. You find one government does one, and then the next government comes and says, well, the economics of this smell of all kinds of corruption, so I don't want to continue. And your studio, your platform has had occasions to question these kinds of wanton disregard for public funding. So if the $100 million looks like a gap right now, if it is utilized properly, what it means is that it could eventually add to the benefit of our healthcare systems. So look at it this way. I mean, I'll be more worried if we lose lives. Because again, the potential loss of lives for productive, well, if these lives are very productive, it would have hampered the economy. And of course, the fact that people are restricting movement, people are going to work from home, you think it will save costs. But sometimes it means investing more in data, for instance, and all of this. It may have some rippling effect in terms of the security it emboldens for all. Well, of course, the security prevention of successive, if you like, multiple infections.
GUTA, in fact, just something to guide you. GUTA, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, it's almost like we are running out of import cover.
Yeah.
They are saying that if this continues, there may be a big challenge because they can't import. So what COVID-19 has done is that it has exposed our own challenges domestically. So we are importing all the time.
Without a doubt, every country is not an island. And so even if we had I don't believe in self-sufficiency in food production in any way. I've always believed in self-sufficiency in food consumption, which means even if I'm not able to produce locally, I should be able to import, which is what GUTA is suggesting, that we do not have the capacity to feed ourselves or to have everything else that we want. And as I said, no country is an island. If it were, there would not be international trade. So it is true that what GUTA is saying is really true. And I know they are exploring other markets. But the fact of the matter is that even though, and I suspect the reason why China is a very important factor in this matter is because China is the world's biggest manufacturer and cost-wise, it's more efficient to produce in China. So if you are not going to source your materials from, let's say, Europe, what it means is that because they do a lot more quality stuff, it's going to cost you a lot more. But even in Europe, there are challenges. Other countries are shutting down their borders. I mean, the Czech Republic actually told Italy that shut your borders because you were lax of it. And other countries are doing it. Trump, my favorite, has just decided that some countries, I think 26 EU countries, is banned.
All EU countries except Europe and
except the UK
and Ireland.
Yeah, and Ireland. Well, that was selective, but I could understand. But you see, so no matter how you look at it, you'll be affected. So my formula is that, look, let people, yes, it's not good to say you want to stockpile on certain essentials, but you may want to do that for some essential.
Would it be too much to be asking for Ghana to do something similar? Economic-wise, can we...
You mean a stimulus?
No, can we shut down and fix our mess internally?
Well, I was
expecting... I'm referring to the economic aspect of things. Can we survive?
No, we can't. We really cannot. I mean, you are talking... I mean, already manufacturing is not up to scratch in this country, and most of the raw materials are usually imported. So already you have been exposed on that aspect. And even the normal daily, should I say, things that you normally would procure. Even toilet paper, for instance, most of it gets imported, right? Maybe you can say we should shut down. It's an opportunity, and I think the president was suggesting something like that, there's an opportunity to embolden locals. What it means is that you may then have to stimulus package them, and then assuming they're able to come up to, they're able to meet the requirements, the demands, then that's fine. But I do not know of any serious business manufacturing entity that can meet the demands of every Ghanaian when it comes to certain essential services. Maybe food we can, because at least there's a glut. And even then, you now have to think about transportation and what have you. So you could do for certain things, but you certainly cannot survive if you decide to shut down all borders. But it is also possible that you may want to restrict some country. I think Uganda has done that for a number of countries.
Yeah, to 16 countries.
16 countries. what it means is that you've got to be prepared before you do something like that, so that people do not accuse you of acting in a panic mode as well. So, and I think these are very important. I've got to say though, that part of the money that is being that has been voted, however infinitesimal, should go to setting up short codes rather than the long winding 10-digit numbers. I mean, I don't see the sense in that actually. I mean, short codes are better because we integrate all the numbers into a short code.
We currently have a new...
Well, for ambulances.
For the ambulance, 112.
Yeah, so once
we
you
now
do
call
that,
it the national emergency number. So
well,
112 goes to police, fire
maybe
service,
we should be
ambulance.
integrated then, because the announcement that came with all those numbers, I mean, come on.
You can't memorize all of them.
You can't memorize all of them. But I think it is crucial that the interventions you're making monetarily should go to sustaining the systems, health systems, way beyond this COVID-19, which is why people are being suspicious, already being asking questions as to how you're going to spend it, especially when under emergency. And don't forget, politicians like chaos.
Doc, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has told the British people that more families would lose more loved ones in this COVID-19 outbreak. Our president hasn't said that, but is that something we should start thinking about? Are we going to be seeing loss of lives, or because it's almost like the world is helpless? WHO is just giving advisories.
Well, you know, I think some of these statements go beyond just the health sector. I think I did indicate that if you look at the proportion of people who are infected who die, it's much, much lower to things we've seen in our part of the world. As to whether that is going to make any difference, for me, I think the focus should be more on the prevention. And look, we can get cases, but what happens to that case? We have to be able to contain if somebody gets infected, we should contain the person so that it doesn't spread. Because if we get to the point where it's spreading easily, and I have to say this, when we talk about the environment and the fact that the virus doesn't survive here, it's talking more about the virus surviving outside the human being. So if the person has the disease and coughs on you and you inhale it, the heat around doesn't matter. Okay, so I think that sometimes I get worried when people get this false sense of security that in our environment it won't work. It's not the case. It's when the virus is out there. When I have coughed, assuming I have the disease, and I have touched a door because I didn't cover my mouth, or somebody else has done that and didn't cover. How long the virus will survive in the external environment is what this heat factor comes in. And this is something we know already, because in the temperate zones.
And how many days?
Climate,
Can you add to the how many days to
there are a lot
droplets?
of factors. So it could be a few hours. As I said, is the amount of the droplet, because then that would, and then even the prevailing humidity and all those things. If you look at the temperate zones, they have outbreaks of influenza every winter. And so they have national vaccination programs where they vaccinate, especially the elderly, every year for influenza. We don't have that here.
And the temperate zones are?
So the countries in the colder climates, that's what I mean, and during their winter periods. But for us in the tropics, we don't get that. So I don't think this is even unique to COVID-19. What I'm saying is that only applies so long as the virus is outside in the environment. But when somebody has coughed on you, when somebody has sneezed on you, when you've shaken somebody's hand whose hands are contaminated, and you touch your nose or your mouth with those, the heat doesn't come in, because now it's in your body. So it's your body's ability to fight the organism, which will determine whether you fall sick or not. So let's not feel safe about the fact that we are in a warm climate. The practices must go on irrespective of what the environment may pose to the virus, because if we don't, then it doesn't matter. We might still get infected.
Thank you so much for your time, Doc. We really appreciate your time. That's Dr. Dennis Lai. He's the National Coordinator for Port Health. I also have other guests in studio. This is a big issue on 97.3 Citi FM and Citi TV. We'll be back to talk about other issues. Don't go away.
Agriculture is the backbone of Ghana. For the prosperity of the Ghanaian economy, it is imperative for the youth to develop interest in agriculture. The Living Fields Agri Challenge provides the opportunity to train and develop the next top agribusiness entrepreneurs. For this maiden edition, we have 12 contestants, 4 production groups. Economic viable and market-oriented vegetables will be cultivated. At least 4 agribusiness startups. Over 300,000 Ghana cedis worth of amazing prizes to be won at the end of the Agri Challenge. Living Fields Agri Challenge is proudly sponsored by media partners. Powered by PB Studios.
Living Fields Agri Challenge, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on City TV.
The month of March is Heritage Month on City FM and City TV. A month to learn, appreciate, celebrate, and tell the story of our beautiful country, Ghana. There is an exciting lineup just for you. Every weekday morning in the month of March, learn Ghanaian historical facts, traditions, and our heritage with the on-air series on the City Breakfast Show. We then explore 12 out of 16 regions in Ghana in 7 days with the Heritage Caravan from the 1st to the 7th of March 2020. Enjoy and celebrate artistic impressions from Ghanaian artists as they showcase their work at the Heritage Art Festival, happening at the forecourt of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly from the 12th to the 14th of March 2020. On the 14th of March, treat your taste buds to delicious food from across Ghana with the Back to Your Village Bazaar. On the 21st of March, City TV presents the Accra Music Expo 2020, a night to enjoy Ghana heritage and music in collaboration with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly at the forecourt of the AMA office. And then the big one, on the 28th of March 2020 at the Accra International Conference Center. 97.3 City FM's most anticipated Music of Ghanaian Origin concert, Mogo 2020, is on. It will be a night of music, nostalgia, and excitement to crown a memorable Heritage Month. It's a month of history, entertainment, education, and appreciation of all things Ghana with the Heritage Month. Heritage Month 2020, telling the Ghana story. This March, only on 97.3 City FM and on City TV. Heritage Month 2020 is in partnership with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the Ghana Tourism Authority.
Well, hello, Ghana. Hello, beautiful people. You're welcome to the all-new season of your most exciting, most entertaining Saturday program. I'm talking Saturday Live, right here on City TV.
For your Saturday afternoon entertainment, for wholesome music, interactive interviews, and live band performances at its best.
Where them day, our missing children, where them day, the Takrade girls say where them day. Me, I'm not afraid to say, Kuma, where you go. No, you don't say my beloved country is free forever. My people still in suffer. Kuma, where you go.
Watch Saturday Live with Nana Dwasakodie and Nana Tufo Boateng every Saturday at 2 p.m. only on City TV.
Hello and welcome back to the big issue on City TV and City FM. I am Umaru Sandamado, sitting in for Godfrey Akotobua for your broadcasting from our studios here at Adabraka in Accra. All morning we've been having a discussion around the COVID-19. 2 cases have been confirmed in Ghana. Measures that have been put in place now that we have it. Would we be closing the gates or the doors after the victims or the patients have come into the country? There were earlier calls for us to ban travels into the country and so on. Well, that would be too late for now, but it is here with us. We are hearing from the Minister for Health, who is giving us the plan, how they are going to use the $100 million that the President has allocated for that. We've heard from the port health officials. In fact, the national coordinator was in studio with us. And now he's been replaced by Sydney Kisley-Hayford, a financial analyst. Sydney, you're welcome to the big issue.
Thank you, Mr. Sanda.
Okay. I also have...
Is Amadou?
Mr. Amadou is more appropriate. Sanda is one of my first names.
First names.
Alex Segbefia is here. He's a former Minister for Health. Franklin Kujo is President of Humani Africa. And Alexander Aban is Deputy Minister for Health. Let's start with Franklin now, because we are moving into other issues related to Electoral Commission. In fact, there are messages that are coming through asking whether the Electoral Commission will continue to do the mass registration, considering that people are being told to avoid crowds. And we know what happens at our registration centers. The NIA registration is ongoing, and people are having to go to the centers as early as 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 1 a.m. To queue for a national ID card. But Franklin Kujo has some more troubling issues with the EC, or some bigger concerns, and we're going to talk about that now. Franklin, you called a press conference this week, and you were still calling on the Electoral Commission to abandon the plan. What's the latest information?
Well, first of all, I think that it's important that the conversations around costs, in fact, the money position has been around the cost and the risk of a new register, basically. We have never said, and I think we need to emphasize the point again, that the Electoral Commission is not supposed to conduct elections or conduct a register, create a new register. But what we are saying is that the propriety of conducting a new register and the cost that will be expended, apart from it being rigged, would far outweigh what should actually be done, which will be a limited register. And it's important that you mention the fact that the coronavirus may potentially affect the registration voters. We hope we never get there, so that nobody hides under any corona to suggest that the process was delayed because of corona. We have significantly made conclusive remarks that given the way that the evaluation was done, the tender process was done, however rigged, that it's impossible, if we are using the new systems, to actually conduct new registration from April 18th. So that has to be said. But it's also important to note that there are about over 8,000 centers, and typically there will be about 2,200 people per center that would have to cluster in order to register. So maybe the coronavirus effect issue may warrant something like that. I mean, I think we need to take into consideration all of this, irrespective of what Imani is saying. But we found out further evidence. Don't forget, the EC claimed that the original equipment that were bought in 2011 have all come to their end of life. In fact, what they stated, and we quoted it, is that they've reached their end of life. And so they need to throw all of them away and procure new ones. And we are saying no, because persistently, the investment plans of the EC had shown that since 2011, they've been buying equipment and replacing some, in fact, refurbishing some as well, right? So it cannot be true that the EC can claim that because this equipment were purchased in 2011, nothing has happened. In fact, in 2016, they spent close to $60 million refurbishing and buying either new BVRs or BVDs, right? And we have now found further information that when they went to Parliament, in fact, on page 18 of the Ministry of Finance 2019 program-based budget analysis of the EC, and page 12 of the 2017 version of the same document, pages 8 and 9 of the 2019 report of the Special Budget Committee. This is a parliamentary oversight body that reviews the EC spending. And page 17 of the 2020 version of that same committee's report, pages 145, 146, and 153 of the Audit Service March 2019 report to Parliament covering the EC and other major institutions actually do show that they've been buying equipment since 2011. And the equipment we have now were not just bought in 2011. Some were bought even in 2018. About 500 of those equipment were bought.
So
you see, the confusion being created in the minds of people is that this is a new EC that took office, so they've not been buying anything. The fact of the matter is, as an institution, they've been buying. And all of these records show that they've expended money.
And the most recent buying
exactly.
was when? The most recent buying was when?
In 2018.
2018.
You bought about 500.
2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, in 2016, in 2017, there's a table we have. In 2019, they even planned to buy 1,500 of them. In 2018, they bought 2,000 of, I think, the BVDs, right? So the point is that they've been buying and refurbishing same, not repair.
Are these the same equipment they are planning to buy?
Well, you know, the interesting bit is that the specifications they are giving for this new equipment they are buying is similar to the ones that already exist, which they've been using. In fact, one of the challenges about, in fact, their communication is that, oh, well, you know, these systems cannot deliver elections because they are fraught with all kinds of issues. Fact of the matter is that these same systems we've been buying have delivered elections in 2016, had delivered other elections. In fact, the referendum was used, 85%, what's it called? It was records rate, outcomes. And then turnouts, and then we used them in 2019, in fact, as recently as December, for the district level elections. Now, there's something else we need to know. The reasons why we are saying the existing systems are better, and if there's anything at all, you need to probably procure a few other things, which will cost roughly $15 million, rather than throw away all these investments, $60 million worth of investment, to go and procure a completely new system costing almost $150 million.
But the fundamental difference would be, frankly, that if you have what we call a YAM phone and a camera phone or a smartphone, the fundamental difference would that you have a smartphone that you can use a camera.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Because they're going to introduce facial recognition, which the old BVDs may not have captured. They only have fingerprint.
The conditional word is used there is may. The old BVDs actually have that functionality. That's why I said the specifications must be looked at. If you read the technical evaluation report and you look at the ones procured by XTL, and we'll come to XTL, whether they were even needed in the first place, you see the same specifications that have been done. In any case, so the point to be made is that you can actually enhance facial recognition in spite of the fact that it's not even that needed. It is not something that couldn't have been upgraded anyway. The suggestion that the old systems are completely kaput and cannot be used is not borne by the fact that since 2016, we've been using them for almost 4 elections, right? So you cannot claim that the systems are so worn out that they cannot be replaced, so they cannot be used at all. Because the word they used was obsolete, that everything is obsolete. And we have proven that, first of all, they lied, that since 2011, these things were procured in 2011. The point is that they schedule, these are concluded audit reports by the Auditor General, and reports on the Special Budget Committee from the Parliament clearly show that we've been buying equipment and refurbishing same, which was why in 2012, when we bought the first equipment, the error rate from the voting, the machines returned an error rate of 33%. Because we kept on refurbishing and then upgrading the systems, we spent money. In 2016, the error rate was 7.5%. In 2019, the last elections, which is the district level, the error rate was 5%. So the system has been perfecting itself because you have actually invested in it, you've invested knowledge, and so you know how the system actually works, and it's delivering. The point is, why do you then all of a sudden, without having conducted a proper audit of all these assets, there's no audit report that shows that these systems are obsolete and nothing, all of a sudden come to tell us that for this new election, we can't use any of those machines because all of a sudden they are all dead. It's like suggesting that when a bank's software is affected, so because the software is affected, we should replace all the ATM machines and the computers that the tellers use. That's the argument the EC is trying to make. We are saying that if you feel that there's some enhancement that ought to be done, the original manufacturers are there, Genki and HSB. They are there. Don't rely on XTL, because you came and 4 months into your office, you actually kicked out XTL, because XTL was making profits about $3.9 million every year for virtually being middlemen. And we agree with you that XTL cannot be relied upon. How you then turn around to rationalize the fact that XTL wrote letters suggesting that the equipment they have are obsolete, so you should change it. In one breath, you say XTL was not needed and that they were controversial people and they were milking us. All of a sudden, you use their so-called letter as a basis to go and procure new machines. And by not going to the original manufacturers, you then conduct a tender whose processes we've now found that were rigged. When Mr. Okobwe came here to suggest to us that, the business reputational risk was not a factor in determining whether the vendor that was eventually chosen, he lied. We have now seen that on page 31 and page 33 of the technical evaluation report, which he as entity head should have read properly, but claim was never factored, they made comments to the extent that one of the vendors, Smartmatic, was exposed in the Philippines because the political parties in the Philippines threatened it, and because of that, they do not think that they need to consider that company in their evaluation, basically to be awarded the contract. But they failed, obviously blinded to the fact that Thalys, the company that eventually won the bid, had corruption allegations, not concluded investigations, not even allegations, right? To the extent that in Estonia, the Estonian government gave them a contract to conduct their national ID systems. Because they failed miserably, the Estonian government is in court with them and asking for $152 million. The World Bank blacklisted them in the mid-2000s because they were paying bribes to government. In fact, in the current Jacob Zuma, the GAFTA Gates in South Africa, they have been investigated and concluded that they actually paid bribes to Jacob Zuma's personal assistants. In Gabon, in Guinea, they had similar experiences. In Benin here, they were found out that they've paid a member of the Commission of Benin, Electoral Commission of Benin, bribes. In fact, the commissioner said that, he has a shell company, and that's the only reason why he got the money. So the point is that if you have used a reputational risk of a company that is possibly more experienced, because they have done 21 successful elections compared to Thalys 7, half of them that were riddled with corruption, and you were using that as a basis to disqualify one of the companies, then it presupposes that you were actually set out to actually rig the tender. Because you brought the issue up. It is not us who went looking for the reputational damages of Thalys or Smartmatic. You mentioned it in page 31 and page 33 of your evaluation report, that this is the reason. And in fact, the quantitative assessment went into the qualitative assessment they made thereof went into the quantitative marks that were awarded. Okay. You see, so the point to be made here is simple. We are saying that, look, the EC lied, and I'm using the word lied. In fact, they told untruths, maybe that is much better, that the equipment are at their end of life and that they were bought in 2011. Persistent records have shown that they were buying equipment in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Do you know how many equipment have been bought between 2016 and 2017, and how many we need as a country?
Well, if you combine the two, you have about, we needed about 75,000 of the BVRs. Mm-hmm. And I think there's already 40,000 of those, and then about 20,000 of the BVRs and the BVDs. I will fish the figures carefully.
So what
the point to be made is that...
So what you want is that they should buy and supplement and not buy everything entirely. Is that your point? Or it should not be touched at all? No new devices should be bought because we already have enough in stock. Which is your position? Assuming you were making the argument that, maybe voter population may have increased, and so now you need 9,000 centers instead of 8,000 centers, where just an average of about 2,200 people will be voting. And so you want to create more centers, then you probably need to buy additional. Arguments are simple.
The systems have been perfected over time. We've made investments of $60 million already since 2015. You cannot throw all of that away. That has delivered four elections since they were bought, with error rates reducing marginally, in fact, reduced to world-class rates. The EU and CODEO reports have shown clearly that this is where the error rates actually sit. So you are perfecting the systems. So if there's anything you want to do, then probably buy a few more because you may want to increase the centers. And we estimate that you only need $15 million. And a limited registration on top of that, $20 million, you need $35 million cedis, $35 million. Don't go and procure services of an unneeded vendor, which has been priced at $72 million at the last evaluation report. That's the first technical evaluation report, $72 million. And again, we submit the EC light because they stated that the hardware was going to cost $56 million. How eventually the technical evaluation report revealed that the company that won got it for $72 million. It's also an untruth that has been told. Okay. Add that to the $80 million that will be used in conducting the new register. You are tipping, and then you add the cost of the software. Don't forget the software tender itself has not been completed. The other part to this conversation is that if you are truly waiting to now procure software and do exhibition, demonstration, pilot, and then maybe people will challenge the fact that they've not been registered properly or not, and then later give the register to the political parties to be satisfied, and you think this process can be done from April 18, when the tender process was concluded, well, somewhere February. They are still talking, by the way. In fact, we've heard that they are trying to renegotiate some of the figures Talis won, the 72 million to about 60 million. But even then, if you add the software cost, you are hitting almost 80 million. Our submission is simple. Don't go and procure any new machines, because the ones you have not only served you properly, but they are actually what? Cheaper. And if you were going to do anything at all, maybe add another 15 million and then get us in ready for the elections. That's the point you are making.
Why do you think the EC would be pushing for it, despite all these facts that you are putting forth? And that's if they are accurate, the facts that you are putting forth.
Well, because they have got self-serving consultants, who, by the way, we found out that they are also conflicted.
How?
Because the Fair Green people, the CEO, was one of the vendors who actually put in a bid at some point for the systems, and they were not successful. All of a sudden, this guy has been given a contract to be advising the EC. Now, the point is that if you take it just on the charge of conflict of interest, what it means is that they are advising the EC wrongly to go and procure new systems because they know that they'll be benefiting.
How will they benefit?
Well, because they may obviously be in cahoots with the company that eventually won. The point to be made is, once you contested...
Let's just say this is an allegation or suspicion you have.
Yeah, but that's the point. You see, you have been part of a process as a vendor. Then you didn't win. But then you've been now asked to be, an advisor. You now have a contract with the same institution. You put in a bid and you didn't win. To come and advise it. What shows you are going to advise them that they should use the existing system? When you put in a bid to replace the entire system.
I see.
That's the point we are making.
So they cannot be believed in the beginning.
I believe strongly that the EC chair is limited. And by the way, let's not forget that when the first tender evaluation thing was done, you see there's a chronology. The EC bosses rejected the first one. We believe the first one was a more competent one. That is assuming we even wanted to buy new systems. But because the outcome was not favorable, they ditched that entire report. And the commissioner who headed that technical evaluation report wrote a letter to the parliament and said, look, I don't want to be part, the Central Tender Committee rather, and told them that he doesn't want to be associated with any subsequent tender evaluation, schemes at all. Because he doesn't believe that the process is going to serve the country properly, which is why that the current tender, which delivered the contract to Talis, was done in a week. And they used 1 day to decide on a $72 million contract. And the person who headed that committee has no competence in understanding technical issues, except that he's a green lawyer.
Okay. That's not fair.
There's not. We need to. You see, look, procurement is one of our biggest headaches. Do you know this $150 million is 75%, actually 85% of the road fund, annual road allocation to the road fund, and 70% of the annual allocation to the National Health Fund, and 50% of the annual allocation to the GET Fund? You are talking serious money here. And I do yield that if we were to do this analysis in terms of comparing cost and why we shouldn't spend money, $150 million could top up the $100 million that the president has put aside for COVID-19 and possibly build our resilience against potential, outbreaks or pandemics, beyond even, strengthening our health systems. So those are our arguments.
Your party, the NDC, is part of a group of political parties that are constantly opposed to the compilation of a new register. I do not know if you did this jointly with Imani, but I believe you still stand by your position. If you could quickly reiterate for us why the NDC still thinks that there should be no register.
Can I just break the issues for me into 3 segments? And the reason I'm doing this is that when we go into technical arguments, and I won't spend a lot of time on what my brother has said because they know the data, they have the detail. But I think for the layperson, I think it's important for us to know how they dovetail or what the issues are, because when you crisscross the issues, you sometimes have, it becomes blurred, or the sense in it gets blurred. The first thing, or the 3 issues I'm going to deal with, one is the data, secondly, equipment, and thirdly, timing. If you break it down that way, you will see that for some of us, the EC fails on all 3 fronts.
Okay.
And therefore, they shouldn't even be attempting this. Some can be mutually exclusive, especially the timing. The others crisscross. Now, if you look at the data, when this whole argument started, the issue first, too many reasons came for why they needed to change our data. Because if you don't need to change the data, in other words, if I have my fingerprints in there, regardless of what happens, I can still go with my ID card and vote. A lot of the cost disappears. What they are trying to do is they say I have to go and give my data all over again. What are the reasons they were given? First, they said the register was bloated. I don't know of a register that is not bloated, because dead people cannot vote. No matter how bloated it is, they cannot vote. 2.
And Alex, let me just jump in. This bloated business, the fact of the matter is that it's not been proven that the register benefits a particular party or not.
No.
So it's even a moot argument.
It's a moot argument.
No, but you can fix all the parties.
No, because at the end of the day, you go and
use this process. NDC won by close to just under 500,000. It went to court, we won. We did all our limited registration, got to 2016. MPP won by 900,000.
1 million almost.
Almost 1 million. So, every party using this register has benefited. And we who are in opposition are saying, leave the register. But you who are in power, who have just benefited most from it, say there's something wrong with it. What is wrong with it? You can't actually put your finger on it. So we are saying that there's absolutely no need. And it was the MPP under the Dankwa institution in 2011 who insisted on biometric so that we don't have to go through this process again. And so there was a reason why we actually took up biometric, knowing full well that once we went into biometric, the data is captured, there is no need for us to go through the process as we are trying to do now again, to go and do it. So why are they against, what's the need for us to give our data? You are taking, the third reason they give, which apart from, was that you are going to introduce facial recognition. Facial recognition is 80%, 88% reliable. What you have is 99% reliable. How do you add something on to a system that is not as reliable as the system you already have?
But facial,
except that you have a group of people who, either by reason of birth or an unfortunate accident, don't have digits. The total number of those people in this country is in the region of about 40,000 maximum. Are you going to let 17 million people queue and re-register for facial recognition when you only have to do it for 40,000 people? It does not make logical sense. It does not make economic sense. And all you have to do is, if it is necessary, because don't forget, even in our system, there's a way of verifying. So if you went there, because of it's not 100% foolproof, there's about 0.6% of people who, even when they try the fingerprints, it won't work. And therefore, there's a manual mean of actually verifying, which has been used in the past and has worked. So it's not like there isn't a way to even deal with those people who don't have digits.
But is the facial not an advancement?
It's not. Retina is. Facial is not. They are not using retina scans, which is the most advanced.
And again, this
facial
is a way of bamboozling people
Yes.
to thinking that we need to actually expand on facial recognition. What does that mean?
It is
when you've
not.
collected biometric, what does that actually mean? What does it add to our elections?
No.
What's the point?
Verification purposes so that people who are not...
Do people wear masks to go and vote?
People who are not qualified to vote...
Are they wearing masks?
We have a backup system, which is the manual system, where they look at your photograph, they check your details, and you come. So, and it is known that... My point is simple. Facial recognition is about 88%. So are we going to spend all this money to add a system onto our system, which is not as reliable as our system? Nobody can question that.
Are you not just making it more foolproof?
How? You might even create more confusion. In the heat of an election, somebody goes, his fingerprints don't work, he says his face works. And somebody's going to descend and start challenging it. Why? And then you say you're going to now go to manual, which you already have. Leave the system as is. Elections are very, very, very tense moments in our country. What is equally important with regard to the bloated register, or with regard to the data? Look, Umaru, one of the arguments put forward, which has also been debunked, was, the equipment, we cannot transfer the data we have from where it is to any equipment that we were going to buy. That presupposes you've made a decision to buy the equipment already.
Exactly.
And we are saying that there is no need for new equipment. Even if you actually agree that there's new equipment, it's like you having an Apple phone and somebody has Samsung. When you decide to move from Samsung to Apple, do you go and call everybody to come and write their phone number again in your phone? You just take the data from one phone, your contacts, you move it from one phone, you put it on the other.
In fact, the way it works is that because Google,
yes,
you put in the data, so Google already stores it.
Yes.
So once you get onto a new phone, you just automatically have that. But then you suggesting
is it that simple?
But it's simple. Once you are saving the numbers, that's so simple.
If you have the right people, they will transfer the data for you from one system onto another. So
is
without admitting that...
Is it a matter of transferring the data? If that data is faulty, transferring it means...
What is the faulty about the data? Don't put an argument in that. It has not ever come up. Nobody is challenging the data.
They do not.
Everybody accepts that the data is fine.
When you say it's bloated, what does that mean? Does that not mean...
But has EC made that argument?
They have never made this argument. That's the point I'm
making.
making.
One of the arguments that have been made.
No, they have not made any argument.
Sando, from the day you finish the register, by the next day it's bloated. Nobody dies in the night. Why? In your phone, if you pick it up now, having your phone numbers of people who may have passed away, have you taken it off? When you transfer, doesn't everything come with it? There are ways, statistically, we are not the first people to do new register. Everybody has register. There are ways, statistically, where data is not, you don't get rid of data. It's not, you have this fantastic thing. You don't get, if they were arguing that they were bringing retina, they may have an argument, but not for facial recognition, because it's inferior to fingerprint evidence. And the only people who are going to benefit from facial, if you want to go under the biometric process, are those who have lost their digits, unfortunately, either through a birth situation or an accident. And therefore, if that is the case, all they need to do is do facial for those people. You don't need to add us to it.
So those who
There's
have
no reason for me to go and queue again, and if you already have my data, use it.
So those with fingerprint biometric data already captured should remain as is.
And if that is the case, all the costs that you are talking about, people going to queue now and go and register again, evaporates, except the 40,000 people who don't have digits.
Challenges.
And if you accept that factor, the cost that is being put in there already reduces. Now we come to the second argument, equipment. If you accept the first one, which is that we don't need to change our data, straight away, you now have to decide, do I need new equipment or not? And we are told that even when you bought the equipment in 2011, you had a guarantee of the equipment for 10 years, which takes us straight to 2021. So on what basis are they telling us now that it's obsolete? People have checked with the manufacturers and they say, no, it's true we have better versions, but even if you have to upgrade what you have, and for the purposes, it won't cost you what they are saying. So you do not need new equipment. You can take your equipment, and you have been upgrading it all these years. That's why the incidence of issues at each election is dropping, now at 5%. So all you need to do is deal with the equipment you have, upgrade it, or come and argue with us that, okay, we still need new equipment. But take out the cost of the people going to register again, because the data always remains the same. And you will reduce it. But we do not see the need because they are not obsolete. They are equipment. And you used it in December 2019. You used it in December 2019. How is it obsolete all of a sudden? And it was successful. 5%, issues or failure rates in certain areas. Lower from where you started from. That is the second point. Now let's look at the third.
Timing.
And that one is the most crucial. When we did biometric in 2012, all the procurement process and everything was started in 2011. That's why we are talking of buying this.
And it ended on October 4th, 2011.
Exactly.
6 months before the election.
It was only when we started the actual registering
register.
people that we went into 2012. We haven't started yet. You are going to sign a contract, and the person who is bringing you the equipment is telling you that minimum
85
3 days, 3 months. Minimum 3 months to get you your equipment. That person, when was giving you that 3 months, never factored in coronavirus. And we all know what is happening currently in terms of the world economy. You are not supposed to be congregating people for voting.
For registration.
For registration. Or for any, we are trying to minimize it. Please, why is it that we must rush things? The one area of our lives which is very crucial is elections. Every time the tension goes, and that is why I'm unhappy about the inexperience of the EC. And I keep harping on this.
Exceedingly.
You see, and they have proved to us that they are inexperienced. Anytime they advise, they don't take the advice.
Their director of elections has always been there. Even if the
At what level?
Even if the boss and the deputy are new.
At what level?
One of the other deputies has been there for years.
No, what I'm saying, how many, by the time we get to the election, how many of the commissioners would have been a commissioner, sitting as a commissioner in the EC?
The director of elections, like I'm saying, Mr. Tete.
Look, at the time, are you sure he's not due for retirement?
Oh. Okay, but he's currently there.
Actually, the point Alex is making is that Alex is making is
he is not been a commissioner.
They are not even in the mix of affairs.
Yes, he has been in. I'm not saying they haven't worked in the EC in whatever capacity. I'm asking you, which of them has been a commissioner through one election? Was a commissioner sitting as a commissioner during a general election?
But do we need that?
We only have 2 now, and both of them are due for retirement before the election.
Who and who?
I don't have the names, but there are 2. And both of them are due for retirement.
So your point is that...
So by the time we get, and even with the 2, look at the mess up we've had.
But it's the structure that will conduct the election, not the persons.
You really think so?
Isn't it?
Are these not the captains of the ship?
Yeah, but...
you are saying that you have captains that are not got experience. And you think that, because the ship will manage itself? No. Umaru, leadership is everything. Leadership is everything. And this is why
but you can't prevent people from retiring.
The point
I'm not saying that...
I'll come to you, Franklin, but you can't prevent people from retiring.
That's the point I'm making, Umaru. When the step was taken to remove those 3 at the same time, under what we call was unfortunate circumstances, you created an issue which was a problem. And now the EC is biting. Look, this is an EC, young as it was, that has just taken on the issue of doing referendum for new regions. Let's all be frank. It was a shambles. The only reason why nothing blew up was that none of the major political parties were against it. The limited registration exercise, both for the referendum that went on and the one that subsequently didn't go on, was a shambles. People were disenfranchised left, right, and center, especially in our strongholds. We came out to press statement, we made that clear. you have a situation where you are going into an election and we are telling you that you don't have the time. Because even in 2012, when we did it, and we had started a process in 2011, we had to have some people voting in the second and possibly the third day because machines got hot. This couldn't happen. And they had to now go and get new batteries. We had a problem because we had never tested the equipment before.
Yeah.
So it is not like we are not saying these things based on empirical evidence. The AU, or no, the ECOWAS has said that don't tamper with your systems 6 months to an election. It's a dangerous move. 6 months to an election, any issue, don't tamper with it.
Yeah, but
and yet,
we are still several months away.
No. By the time when are you going to test it?
In fact, the suspicions are that they will not even tamper. They may actually use the existing systems to actually deliver the election, which is why an independent audit of the assets they have right now must be done.
Omar,
and we've petitioned the auditor.
The timing is, why are we rushing?
The thing about the experience, though, when Charlotte Osei supervised the elections in 2016, she hadn't been involved
in
about
Kanga? And do you know how many of them had been EC commissioners?
But she's a leader. She was
no, but they are serving.
But
so you're interested in the commissioners,
yes,
not the chairperson.
I'm not looking at the individual person.
Okay. Actually, the point is that the point Alex is making about the proprietary of new machines and their tendency to probably fail you is that because they are new, the first time you use them, you are likely to have this level of error rate. That's why we had 33. It was 47% for the registration.
Yes.
Then when the elections were held, it was 33%. That is why the same machines refurbished came back and gave you 7.5% in 2016 and 5% in 2019.
Yes.
So in fact, in Nigeria, when they first introduced the system, it couldn't even recognize the president at the time. In Afghanistan, they had to fly in German equipment makers, and the election took almost 65 days before they announced the results.
Okay.
So these are risks.
EC fail on why they need new data, the equipment costs, and what they need for new equipment. For me, they fail. We are still within the lifespan of these machines, save wear and tear, and the timing, which for me has got no political issue. Let's just look at it straight on the facts. We shouldn't attempt it. Period. Let's just go with what we know. Let's finish our election. Then let's have if you need new equipment at that point, you can justify it on real ground.
Now, this is the point. In 2018, the EC appeared before the relevant parliamentary committee and insisted that it needs additional BVRs. But note carefully, it confirmed on pages 8 and 9 of the parliamentary report, special budget committee report, that all 7,500 BVRs in its portfolio have been refurbished, but that it still needs an additional 5,000. In addition, it wanted to procure 5,000 BVDs. You see the point? So they already confirmed. And this is an institutional. It's not about one person.
No.
The decision being made here is now one person or a few people saying, all of this is kaput.
Okay.
The fact, the truth is that since 2011, we've never purchased anything, which is also a lie.
Okay, let me bring in, I think I should bring in Alexander before I come to Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want Sydney to conclude this conversation.
Okay.
Why is your party insistent on having a new register?
Oh, they are ambivalent. They are ambivalent. They are not really...
I don't think it is our party that is insisting. It is the EC in the exercise of its independence of tenure,
constitutional independence,
constitutionally granted. That is saying that it wants, it needs the,
but not the liberty to spend anyhow.
Okay, of course. Don't heckle me.
I'm helping you.
Okay, so I want that to be very, very clear that this is not our party, because I do not want you, or I do not want the impression to be created out there that the EC is an appendage of our political party.
Your party is part of a group of political parties that are supporting the EC's decision.
Thank you. Good. One, because the EC, okay, exercises its autonomy to deal with its matters the way it has been granted to it by the Constitution. Of course, it doesn't mean that we should also just look on sheepishly for the EC to just spend anyhow, even if it doesn't make sense, right? But at least the autonomy of the EC as constitutionally guaranteed must be respected by all parties. All that whatever we do from all political parties is only advisory. I think from the constitutional point, that's what it is. Whatever we do is advisory. So the EC, in its wisdom, has weighed all the issues and come out with a decision that it needs these new BVRs and BVDs and all that. Yes. Let me start with the, in fact, when it comes to the financials and all those kind of things, if I say I have any information about it, I'll be lying.
Okay.
Whether it is overpriced, whether it's underpriced, whether somebody wants to have some cut or somewhere.
Actually, there are claims, not just the financial. There are claims that they've never procured anything since 2011.
Frankly, allow him to.
I cannot speak to.
Allow him, yes.
Yeah, I cannot
because
speak
the
to those
evidence.
because that one I must have hardcore evidence to be able to either substantiate or dispute it.
Okay.
But he made a fundamental point, which is very true, that when, to the extent of saying that the register is bloated, it is true, because even if we finish with the registration today, okay, tomorrow it will be overbloated because some of the people who have been captured in there would have died. In that same vein, stretching his argument, in that same vein, it means that the more it stays, okay, the more inaccuracies we have, because many more people would then have died. Right?
Yes.
Good.
Dead people don't vote.
Dead people don't vote.
No.
I do understand.
And also we have a system to clean up the register through what we call where we allow people to come and check whether people
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That is where I'm going. In fact, if all of us had actually taken up our civic responsibility very, very well to go or attend the call of the EC to clean up the register, probably we will not get to this point. But the reality of the matter is that any time that the call is not to go and register, but the call is go and verify,
you will not do it.
You will not go. And so the dead names still stand in the register. Okay? And that's where the fear is. Right?
But can dead people be resurrected to come and vote?
Dead people would not be resurrected
because
to
this
come and vote.
biometrics.
So let us, don't worry, dead people would not be asked or resurrected to come and vote. But for as long as their names are in there, what it means then is that for as long as you vote and the vote casts do not exceed the number in the register, it may be presumed to be valid. Okay. Right?
What are you saying? Say it again.
Listen to me. Now, if you have 100,000 people on your register, but indeed the people who are actually living are actually 70,000, it means that there is margin of 30,000 there of people who are dead. Unfortunately, because we did not make ourselves available to have the register properly cleaned, that 30,000 will still be there.
Yeah, but
if
they are
you are
dead.
able to, a moment, if you are able to, from whichever side, if you are able to manipulate the election in such a way that you still have 80,000 or even 90,000 people voting.
There's no way of knowing that 20.
There's no, yes, that 20,000, may have been fictitious, but for as long as it is lower than the total votes on the total
you'll be within
register,
the boundary. You'll be in the,
it will be presumed to be valid.
Yeah, but except that we're
Right?
using biometrics to vote now, so no one can just show up and vote. You have to put your fingers on the machine. And so these 20,000 people, how are they going to vote if their fingers are not there, physically present? Mind you, we try the fingers.
See,
if that fails, then we look at the ID card and compare with the photo album.
I know. But you see, you don't have to leave such rooms. Okay?
Shouldn't leave doubt.
Alex, the assumption
so,
Alex
so,
is
so
making
minimize
is
the
that
doubt as much as you can. Frankly, I need to
let me-
bring in Sydney because we are going out
okay,
of
so
time.
that's
So
fine.
please wrap up for me so that I'll come to Sydney, please.
And then issues of timing, right? Good, it is legitimate to raise. But the person who is going to use the machines, okay, and whatever procurement processes that he's going through, has weighed and done its calculation.
So we shouldn't warn them?
No, we should just throw the warning to them.
Or we should just watch them, because you've seen that they are going to crash. You just keep watching and say,
not watch them. I have already told you that you keep, whatever we are doing for the EC is advisory. Okay. So we actually raise the red flags as we go along. Okay. Right? If upon the red flags, they still weigh all the issues and say that, no, we still have enough time to deal with it, so be it.
Okay.
Right?
No problem.
He said something which I felt was unfortunate. Because he said that the limited registration exercise were shambles, people were disenfranchised, especially from your strongholds.
Yes.
Then you are actually imputing that somebody is deliberately doing something against
We have made a press conference on this. This is nothing new. We've said this before. This is nothing new.
So that's the position from the NDC, and they made that. So,
and I'm saying that position is unfortunate.
No problem. Let's leave it there. Sydney Kesley Hayford.
Time now, is there even any reason why I should even say anything?
Yes, there are a lot of reasons.
This conversation has become very boring. It's boring because we are throwing too many things into the pot and expecting it to come out with some fine soup by some default thing. If we just focus on what the real end result is, we need to put up a register that will not be challenged or will not be blamed with any particular political party loses the election. Mr. Sebefia goes on saying that one of the important things is that every time we have elections, the political tempo goes up, and it's the most sensitive times of our country. Question he's not asking himself and answering is who causes the political tempo to go up? It's them, the same political parties.
The actors.
Okay? They in opposition, anytime, whoever it is in opposition, is constantly beating the war drums when it comes to election time. And why? The desperation to become, governors of the country and the opportunities to loot the financial coffers is so big that they can't help themselves except to want to be in power. We the followers, we the ones who are going to vote, it doesn't make any difference to us. All right? If those BVRs or BVDs or whatever we call them is going to cost us 15 million, as Franklin as we call it, dollars. Okay? $15 million.
It should be dollars.
Our slang.
He says $15 million.
And his Trump's friend. So who are you to challenge?
I don't know dollars.
Yes.
If it's going to cost us $15 million or it's going to cost us $72 million, who cares?
Sydney, dollars is the currency in the Gambia. Right? So you say dollars.
But Sydney, you keep making this point about who cares.
At the end of the day, when I go and vote, I am more interested in knowing that my vote has been captured accurately and reported at the end of the day. Whether it costs me $15 million to do that or $72 million to do that, doesn't, for me, the voter, doesn't make any difference.
No,
it has to make a difference because that's if it is costing 70 million, it should cost 15 million.
You are the numbers.
60 million could have helped in doing something, maybe getting you a roof to your house.
There's a big difference.
You're an accountant. You can't say that.
It doesn't matter whether I'm an accountant or not.
You don't care how much was
Listen
used.
to the arguments. Listen to the arguments. Whether or not we have overexpended and cost the taxpayer, all right, far more than it actually costs to be able to deliver a BVR. It's a very, very different argument from the end result of whether or not my vote is accurately.
But if they rig the financials, they could equally rig the outcome.
Why?
What was the point? If you manage to rig a system that should cost 15 million and you cost it at 72 million, it means that you could actually rig the outcome.
Two unrelated
These are serious matters.
If I go, but who's trivializing it?
You are.
No, you are trying to elevate this thing to a position.
You are suggesting that the $72 million expenditure, losing $55 million is
normal.
It's
so
normal.
Far as the
I have not suggested any such thing.
You said that
the voter, but you said the voter doesn't care.
The voter, when we go and vote, at the end of the day, whether it costs us $72 million to vote or it costs us $15 million to vote, it doesn't affect the outcome of my thumbprint.
Then we should give them $1 billion. Then
he's suggesting that that's also a possibility. And the point is that, Sydney, you are a numbers person. You are with Occupy Ghana. Your job is to ensure
you are a media person.
In fact, he's actually calculated the cost of corruption before.
Yes, so many times. You work hand in hand with the Auditor General. You are saying that it's okay for 55 million to go with.
You are a media person.
Yes.
Does that mean that anything that is reported in the media is your responsibility?
It's not reported. This is public money.
It's not your responsibility. So if it's public money, how does the cost of that money affect my vote?
It affects your vote because eventually if you are ill, that 55 million could have helped put up a health center that you could have easily walked to, rather than having to travel miles and miles and miles to another one.
Then everything that we do in
this country, $150 million, 75% of that of the road fund.
Let's Sydney land.
No, we had this thing last week. I think we need to let Sydney know that he understands financials, and on this particular matter, he's ducking.
Okay.
He should just say that. He should just say that. If you support the system, support it. But to make the point that the figures do not matter, it's not fair.
That you're putting out there,
because you haven't even read anything. Go and read the reports of the parliamentary committees.
My friend, the fact that I'm not commenting about it doesn't mean I have not read it.
But don't reduce the argument to the fact that somebody is saying 50 million, 75 million, so it doesn't matter. This is public money, and we are saying that the money we are talking about,
the amount of money you spend
it's 50% of the National Health Fund, 75% of the road fund.
The amount of money you spend on the BVR doesn't affect the number of people who vote.
Okay.
The cost of the BVR doesn't affect the number of people who vote.
So we shouldn't bother.
Two different things.
But that's a second argument. You say it shouldn't affect their vote at all. But now you say the number of people who vote.
Of course it doesn't affect their vote at all.
The two issues are actually also moot, because that's not what the argument is about. The argument is really about the fact that if you rig a process and then return a value that is more costly than it should be, you are likely to rig the outcome.
Sydney.
So that's where the matter sits.
If I buy a new car, and I use that new car to take my children to school, does it make my children any more intelligent?
If you use public money to buy a new car, when you should have used the public money to buy a Toyota,
it doesn't affect the vote. At the end of the day,
it affects the kitty.
It doesn't, but it affects the kitty. So how does it affect the vote? It doesn't affect the vote.
But what are you saying? How are you transiting? I'm surprised.
Don't do that. I'm surprised at you.
No.
I can go equally at you and make you look like an idiot.
No.
It's not a problem.
On this particular matter,
you've been going on about
ducking.
Ducking what?
You are not making any financial sense.
What is my
position? The point of the fact of the matter is that we are talking numbers here. You are not reducing the argument to the fact that it doesn't matter if we spend $1 billion on an election, because it doesn't matter to the voter anyway. We are saying it matters because the body that is mandated to do that is supposed to procure public money. In fact, in procuring public money, it matters that if it costs 50 million and they are telling you it's going to cost 150 million, you should care. Because 75% of that money can go into what? It's what we spend on the road fund, 50% we spend on education, and 85% on, I think,
you have
healthcare.
got to be in your bonnet because you have data
but you speak with data and produce evidence. You don't speak out of thin air. All you are doing here is just thin air. You are just reducing the... Which vote?
It has nothing to do with my
vote. But the vote must be sanctimonious. It must be sanctified.
It has everything to do with my time, and my time is up.
Look, whether or not the NDC loses by 1 million votes, or whether they lose, or whether they win by 40,000 votes, as we have had, we have had in the past,
has got nothing to do how much the BVR costs.
Okay.
And if anybody can't understand this, then I'm sorry, you have a different agenda.
That's Syndicate.
Shut your operations and never talk about cost of issues in this country.
Frankly,
because what's the point?
Frankly, absolute crap.
No, but it's not crap.
I have a right.
You have been auditing the auditor figures and saying that they're spending so much on.
I have a right to discuss whatever I want in my own way. You cannot come and tell me.
Thank you,
Felix.
Frankly, please listen. Franklin is president of Imani Africa. Syndicate Layford is a member of Occupy Ghana Financial, and both of them are members of Occupy Ghana, to be honest. Alex, he has been once.
He was once.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. He's a founding member. Alex Segbefia is a former minister for health. Alexander Aban is a deputy minister for health. Earlier, we had Dr. Dennis Lai, national coordinator for port health at the Ghana Health Service. My name is Umaru Sandamado. Thank you for watching City TV and listening to City FM and following The Big Issue. Have a pleasant weekend.